listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish podcast, on the air since 1981.
Now, here's your host.
Welcome back to the program, Mom. Zev Brenner. Heshy Goldstein joined us. I think it's been a long time since he's been on the program. He runs Aryeh Hospitality. They've been running weekends throughout the year, and they were scheduled to run a Pesach program in Atlantic City, the Claridge Hotel, just a couple of days ago. He sent out an email and directive saying that the program can cancel due to fraud, and he's here to explain exactly what's going on. Thank you for joining us, Heshy. I thank you, Doni Schwartz of Passover Listings. To anything Pesach, you can check out Passover Living's helping putting together the segment. So thank you for joining us.
Hello, how are you?
Good, thank God. So you've been running Pesach program, throughout the year. You're going to be running a big program in Atlantic City. So what happened a couple of days ago?
So this actually started March 3rd. But of course, I didn't know about it. As we got closer to Pesach, we were obligated to follow the contract, which had a timeline of when the payments should take place. So of course, we are, pushing for the customer to make her final payment, so we can make our final payment as well. Starting Monday and Tuesday, we were just like sending large amount of payment, and comes Wednesday, we show up at the hotel to start koshering, which is a week before Pesach, and the hotel is not allowing us in the hotel. When I heard about it, I literally got in the car before I had the chance to even eat breakfast or daven. I just ran to the hotel, and I asked to speak to the general manager because, of course, they were ignoring my calls. They basically left me hanging there and said to me, "Come back to us 12:30. We're very busy right now." All right, sit around in the hotel. 12:30, they show up, and they look at me and said, "Heshy, you haven't been making your payments. We just opened the hotel to the public. It's a very busy season now. It's the spring break. We don't want to lose more money." And I'm like looking at them. What are you talking about? I've been sending all these wires. I know for a fact because the accountant kept on sending a screenshot of every wire that was sent to you. He copied me in the email. They said, "Well, we didn't receive them. Therefore, we're sorry to inform you the program is canceled. You have breached the contract." So of course, right then and there, it becomes like a exchange of words. You guys don't know what you're doing, and they're saying to me, "You guys don't know what you're doing," and because we're totally not understanding what's going on. They're saying they haven't received something that we said that we clearly did send. At one point, I called my accountant, who has been in charge of the account, and I said to him, I'm not going to say his name, obviously, "Did you send the wires or not?" He said, "Of course, Heshy, you were copied in every email." And I said, "Okay, but they're saying they didn't receive it. Can you explain to me how you send the wire and they don't receive it?" So I said, "Well, you do know that they switched to a different bank. So maybe they should check the other bank." So at that point, they got the controller. Every hotel has its own controller to find out if they saw it in a different bank account. The controller gets on the phone, the elderly woman, Mary, and she says, "What are you talking about? There is no other account. We only use Bank of America, the same bank account you have sent your deposit to, and we just haven't been receiving any more money from you. It's been already close to a month." Now, I personally know that I also sent to that new account because this is the information that the accountant gave me before this happened on Monday. And I didn't hear from the hotel, so I assumed they received it, and everything is okay.
How much money are we talking about that you sent to this other place, this new address?
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money, okay.
A lot of money. It's something that it would be, I don't feel comfortable discussing, not because of any legality issues. It's just a huge embarrassment as is. I don't need to make it worse than it is. But you're talking about majority of the payment that was due to the hotel. You give an initial deposit, and then you give a follow-up payment, which let's assume the hotel costed us, for argument's sake, $750,000. We would give them a 25% deposit, followed by another 25, and then it'll be another 50. Okay. So at that point, the accountant is like, "What are you talking about? You sent me an email stating please switch to PNC Bank because Bank of America is being audited." And she's saying, "Sorry, I never sent you this email." Meantime, he's sending me a copy of the email that I'm showing to everyone. I said, "Look, it says from the hotel." I even saw the email myself. And that's when things started to come clear to us. The hotel never sent that email. They never banked at PNC Bank, and this was not coming from the hotel.
So how did the person get a hold of you to switch the accounts? How did they know to contact you? Was it an inside? Are you alleging an inside job from somebody at the hotel?
So it's a very interesting question. We were right away when this happened. A lot of very good friends of mine, believe it or not, called me and said to me, "Heshy, we were too embarrassed to come out with the story when it happened to us, but this is a special agent, FBI agent that helped us recover some of our money." We're talking about large corporations in Brooklyn, Lakewood, catering companies, insurance companies. They all called me up and said, "Heshy, I just want you to know our hearts are with you. We know about this scam. We were scammed, and now we want you to try to help to get you the right help." We literally got a bunch of referrals, all pointing to the same investigator, FBI agent. And by Friday late afternoon, he told us that he has gotten hold of the account where the money was sent, but the guy did write a couple of checks, gave us the amount, and we don't know if they were cleared as of Friday afternoon. What's very interesting about it, and this is what I'm really trying to understand, is if there is a problem, I guess in our community more than anywhere, of us being too sheltered, if you want to call it, or too naive to know that these kind of scams exist, why didn't all these people that were scammed come out and say, "Hey, there is something called phishing," I think they call it. The email address will look exactly the same as the one that you've been communicating with the hotel, but they can actually hack that email account and send you email that will guide you or tell you things that were not actually coming from the hotel. Now, I want you to think of a scenario. I'm sure you have a nephew or someone in your family that opened an Amazon business on his own, didn't have money. He borrows from his friends and family $30,000, $40,000. He buys products in China. And of course, he sends a small deposit. When the goods are ready to be shipped, he gets an email to send the money to a different account. The guy doesn't know. He sends the money to another account. The goods never get shipped. He starts accusing them of stealing. They start accusing him of not getting paid. Bottom line is, the money is gone. By the time he realizes, he's too embarrassed to tell anyone that he just got scammed. And he has to now be a bachai for the next who knows how long. And you know what? It could have been avoided by just like you teach your kids, don't cross the street without looking. Don't just wire money without talking to the person that needs to be wired. I mean, accountants called me up, different bookkeepers called me up, and I said, "Heshy, before the wire goes out, we call up the customer or whatever it is, the vendor. We go through number by number, bank name, multiple times. And again, it's very easy to be told after the fact, "Oh, Heshy, why? You could have, would have, should have, your accountant should have known." No, he's
So let me ask you,
guy.
Heshy, over what period of time are we talking about what period of time were you sending to this other account? Was it a month, 6 weeks, 2 months? What period of time?
So I actually went through that. So March 3rd is when we received that email. Now, he also got in between the conversation. He knew what the hotel was looking from us in regards to not just payment, update on the cleaning, update on the, every kitchen needs to be modified when it comes to Pesach. He somehow got into the conversation very like answering questions and asking questions while also keeping us informed about the new payment method. Now, I happened to have sent him a payment to the new account, and I assumed everything was fine. That was the beginning of March. Now, in the middle of March, we sent it to the old account, and we thought we made a mistake, and we sent an email saying, oops, we sent the money to the old account. We had it on file. And the response was, okay, please make sure it doesn't happen again. Now, Mondays, when we got closer to the deadline, you know, the contract has to be paid, we're putting pressure on everyone. Pay up, we need to pay the hotel, right? So wires get sent one by one. And of course, at that point, the accountant is on top of it because my job is right now getting the program off ground. And that's when the majority of payments went into the account.
So the hotel itself, when they didn't get the payments that they were expecting to get, they didn't contact you and say, Heshy, where are the payments? You say they pay us March 15th and it's not here. They didn't contact you?
No, they didn't. They did not contact us the past Monday and Tuesday. They just felt that we are making fun of them. We're just telling them that we're sending the money, but we didn't actually send it. And we were just trying to buy time. They looked at us like, you said you sent on Monday. Now they didn't get it in their account, which is the same day. So I gave them the claim excuse, which everyone would, you know, okay, the bank is probably delayed, you know, which should have been a red flag. What do you mean? If I sent out a same day wire, there's no such a thing as being delayed. I mean, it never happened to us. Tuesday comes, they're already not even asking me why the money didn't come in. So I'm assuming, okay, they got it. And that's when they must have decided enough is enough. We're not trusting these guys any longer.
Now, when you show the hotel that you made the wire payments, I assume you sat down with the manager or somebody. We're talking about the Claridge Hotel. Those that are emailing me, we're looking at the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City. That's where the Pesach program was supposed to have occurred. When you sat down and showed them proof that you made payments, did they say to you, hey, there is a scam, we're going to work with you trying to resolve it? Because in effect, by what you're saying, they canceled the program, they're disenfranchising people and they're going to lose more money in the long run.
So two things. A, their response was, we're going to make more money now during spring break. So it's almost like they were no longer interested in getting the balance from us. Secondly, they looked at us, okay, so you just lost a chunk of money here, which you probably won't be able to come up with an additional funds. Interrupted the phone call. You hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. I lost you for a moment.
So they looked at us and said, you won't be able to come up with additional funds to pay back whatever you were just scammed with. And thirdly, which is what one of the managers just said to us, it's an act of God. God doesn't want you here. So they didn't think that they owe us anything besides for the breach of contract. The contract said you should have been paid up Wednesday, 9 a.m. It was 9 a.m. and the money wasn't there. So they don't owe us anything. I tried pleading with them. I said, you're going to hurt hundreds and hundreds of people. And some of them are elderly people. Some of them have literally nowhere to go. Some of them are hurting. They just lost a family member. People that go away for Pesach are not always because they're looking for, you know, to have a good time. Or sometimes it's because they have nowhere else to go. I said, how can you do that to them? I said, don't worry about me coming up with additional funds. I'll figure it out. How can you be so heartless? And said, well, I'm sorry. We really feel for you guys, but nothing that we can do. Just like that, walked away and left me hanging there.
Strange, because if they took your business, then they wanted you for even though it was spring break and maybe they could make money in spring break, but they wanted you there. Now that you're having this difficulty from what you're explaining to them, I'm just surprised they didn't try to work out. There's something here doesn't smell right. Why wouldn't they want to work with you?
I was puzzled. Same. I just couldn't make head or tail. I like literally sitting there wondering what just happened. And I even now I'm asking myself, really, they were going to make that much money from the spring break versus of hundreds of thousands of dollars that I was willing to come up to make up with a scam and lose an opportunity for us to come back or anything like it. You have to realize one thing, and maybe that's why you're wondering why they were not looking for future business. Atlantic City on its own is what I call a dead zone. Since gambling became legal in all 50 states, and it's no longer in Atlantic City, I learned a lot about Atlantic City. During the day, we would show up. There are literally no people on the street. It looks like a ghost town. Now, remember, when a hotel is not busy, look at the ratings online. Terrible. I don't believe they're all true, but it's possible they are. People were writing on the reviews on that hotel. There's, I mean, blood stains on the beds. There are mold growing. There's mold growing there. There's a infestation of roaches. Now, of course, when I looked at the hotel and I checked it out myself, I didn't see any of it. But it definitely shows negligence on their part, because when a hotel is not operating to the capacity and is not making money, they don't have the funds to upkeep the hotel. And as some of my customers
did they threaten to sue you right now because they canceled your program? They threatened to sue you for the balance of the money?
I don't think so. They didn't actually say that. I don't think they have.
Why wouldn't they tell you they're going to sue you? They said they're canceling your program. You didn't pay. Why aren't they threatening to sue you?
Very simply put, I was willing to continue. I was willing to pay them even though I was scammed. I didn't say I'm canceling. See, they are they're in hot water for a number of reasons. But besides being in hot water, they were already not performing. They're already one of these hotels that are bordered, going up in smoke any day now, because they just don't have enough business to keep the place alive. Now these reviews are not helping them, so I think they just made the situation from bad to worse. Is the way I look at it. Yes, maybe they got a bunch of teenagers now in some college coming during the spring break, and they figured, hey, here I'm getting another $100,000 for sure, and they grabbed it. It's possible, but that would be exactly shooting yourself in the foot, because they gave up on. They definitely weren't getting the type of money I was going to give them, which was the balance of what I owe them. That was wired to a.
We're going to break. How many years have you been running programs?
I believe it's 9 years by now.
9 years by now. We're doing with Heshy Goldstein. He is the owner of Aryeh Hospitality. They run programming throughout the year, but for Pesach, they rented out the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City. And what Heshy is saying is that he couldn't make payments to the hotel because he was scammed, and he made payments to somebody else that contacted him and told him to make payments to their address, scamming him, and the Pesach program has been canceled. We're going to continue.
Listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish podcast, on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And we're back. Heshy Goldstein is our guest. He's the proprietor, the owner of Aryeh Hospitality, business 9 years. Claridge Hotel. They took a gamble in Atlantic City, and unfortunately for them and for the guests, it didn't pan out because he's alleging fraud where he paid somebody else other than the hotel in a mistaken situation. And we have a lot of you people waiting on the line, so we're going to get to you and some of your email questions. I believe Elon Korn. First, we also thank Doni Schwartz of PassoverListings.com. Great place to get anything about Pesach answered. Let's go to Elon Kornblum, Great Kosher Restaurants. Thank you for listening. You have a question for Heshy.
Hey, Zev, how are you? Thank you for doing the interview. And Heshy, thank you for coming on. I know it's an uncomfortable situation, so I appreciate that you're coming on. My concern, and I have a WhatsApp chat with about 25 of the booked guests. Obviously, they're shocked and appalled and feel, they've been stolen from. But I've heard one is, why have you not reached out and been more helpful in trying to find alternatives, or speaking to them about what's going on? They haven't heard from you. I really wish you would have spoken to them and find out how you can help them, because they're the ones really who are not to blame.
I appreciate you asking that question, and you are making a very good point. At the same time, I want you to.
Yeah, go ahead. He's talking. Go ahead, Heshy.
Hi. Should I start again?
You may have to listen a little bit through your radio as well. But go ahead, Heshy. You're speaking to Elon.
Okay, I can hear. Okay.
Okay. Hi. Okay. Anyways, I was started saying that you're making a good point, and I would like to definitely explain that from my perspective. So when this all happened, you have to understand that it happened so sudden And at the same time, it kind of put me in a state of shock. On top of that, I knew I had to try to find another hotel immediately and just move away from the Claridge instead of canceling. So for an entire day, that Wednesday, I shouldn't say, it was more like from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until later in the evening when I realized I couldn't find anything that would work. I was just working around the clock trying to find a hotel. But even when I sent the email, I didn't exactly cancel. I did inform that I'm having an issue. So if God forbid there were to be a problem and I wouldn't be able to continue with the program, they are informed that it is something going on, which is what I did. The following day, as you probably know, although you didn't mention online, and I appreciate that, once a story comes out and, anyone that wants to say anything and wants to hide and not, no one knows who it is, gets to become, to express their views or the way of thinking in a way that we normally wouldn't get to talk to this person. Say, for example, if you go to shul, you wouldn't necessarily go over to a guy and say, I would love to hear what you have to say about Heshy Goldstein and his program. However, once the guy is on a chat and he's not having a good day, or even if, let's say he had a dispute with me, which unfortunately can happen, in business for 9 years, thousands of events, thousands and thousands of guests, there's going to be a guest that wasn't happy. There's going to be a chef or a waiter who didn't finish off nicely because we had a dispute. All of a sudden, on that chat, they have the right now to go and blast me. And that is what happened, and I'm laughing because saying you can be a frum Jew from everything, and when it comes to Lashon Hara Rechilas, all of a sudden they're entitled to because they give themselves the right to. So now,
But listen, when people are down, people are always going to try to stand up and do something and capitalize on it. But the question though is, what happens to the guests that were planning to go to your program for Pesach? They put money into it. What happens to the money? What happens to the Pesach plans? That's what Elon's really asking.
So I don't have an alternative, which is what I started saying. I worked on it entirely Wednesday before I sent out the email saying we have a problem for another hotel. And there was nothing that was fruitful and nothing that came about that I was able to go and say, okay, we can just take the program over there. On Thursday, when all this, hack came out, and on top of that, customers called me up and said, Heshy, we feel so bad for you. Our heart goes out for you. Don't worry about us. We already made other plans. And I heard it from countless customers. So now I'm saying to myself, even if I were to go and find another hotel, I don't have all the customers. And addition to that, all the new signups that we had since Monday, which we didn't process their payment, what was to say that they would still have trust in our program and come along. So now I'm losing the new customers, the customers that already made plans to go elsewhere, plus the hotel money that obviously we're not getting back, or the money that got stolen that we're not getting back.
The question though is, then we have a lot of people waiting and get to another phone call. But the question I have is, what happens to the money that people laid out? I know you don't have it, but how do they get compensated? How does that work?
So it's very interesting. Because COVID happened to us before, and we had to learn something from it. We encourage, not only encourage, we actually write in the contract. We say those words. No refunds are given unless there's a government lockdown, which happened during COVID. Please buy insurance. A friend of mine called me up and said, Heshy, thank you for writing that in the email because the insurance costed me $250. Now I'm getting back my $6,000, $7,000 from the insurance company. Now, those who didn't buy insurance, I'm not going to let them hang because they didn't follow my instructions and because I wrote no refund policy or whatever. I will still compensate them. And what I offer in the contract is that I give them another chance to come to one of our events, which is what I was been told during COVID to do, which Baruch Hashem, 90% of the people who didn't come to COVID came to one of our follow-up events. If it was Shavuos, Sukkot, or Pesach, whatever it was. Now,
will this affect your attendance? If people say, hey, you had a debacle Pesach, will that affect Sukkot, Hanukkah, whatever other time you're going to do an event or program?
I don't think so, because the haters, if you want to call them, they weren't planning to come anyway. All right, because they're the ones going online and cashing in now, saying, "Oh, I had a problem with Heshy. Let me get even with him," and they're doing a very good job at it. The people who love me, who I'm getting support from, which is, by the way, in the thousands. I didn't know I had so many friends telling the one who I didn't know about an FBI agent that specializes in this kind of crimes. I was recommended by one of the top
But did
caterers
you
in Venezuela.
contact the FBI right away when you were hacked?
Oh yeah. We already have made some progress because they called us on Friday afternoon that we might have good news. They were able to trace where the money went, but they also had the guy already wrote a couple of checks to a different account, and they have now in part of finding out if it was cleared. That was
Wait,
right
are you
before
getting
Shabbos.
back any money than what you wired? Because they found it. Are you getting anything back?
We'll find out. That was Friday afternoon when my bookkeeper called me up and said, Heshy, I have great news. Now, regardless of what I just explained to you, the nature of the contract, of the progress of the FBI agent, I don't want other people's money. No matter what other people may say, which is part of the things that are being discussed on the chat, I don't want anything that doesn't belong to me. Now, with that being said,
go ahead. Yes, the bad thing said.
with that being said, as soon as there's money in the account from recovery or business loan, a lot of very wealthy people called me up and said, Heshy, this exact same story happened to me. And you know what? I want to be there to support you because I want to help you. Then there were people who said to me, Heshy, prove to me that you sent the wire, prove to me the email. I went and I sent it, but you know what? The more I send them information, the more questions they had. At one point, a good friend of mine said to me, Heshy, you don't owe anyone an apology. You don't owe anyone an explanation more than what happened. And I'm just getting trapped into the whole hype of the social media, which I stopped cold turkey this Friday.
Okay, let's go. Hold on 1 second. Let's go to Moshe in East Orange, New Jersey. Your question. Go ahead, Moshe.
Hi, Heshy and Zev.
Hi, how are you?
My question is,
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah.
Your question.
my question is exactly when did you contact the FBI and what is the name of the FBI agent you spoke with?
So I give you his number, and I believe we spoke to him on Thursday, but I don't know the details to exactly what time and what date because it was mostly handled by my accountant, who is the one who made the transfer. But if you need to know his name, I'm assuming you have a similar case for yourself and you need to know more information of how to get that done. And by the way, I got a lot of phone calls from people who were in the same situation and they were too embarrassed to come out and ask for help, and they just took the loss. So let me find that name and number because it was given to me by one of a very, very prestige caterer in Williamsburg who was kind enough to call me up with that information.
Yeah, I don't
Stephen
think you called
Chapman.
the FBI because you remember the name of the Mary, the elderly controller at the Claridge Hotel. You don't have his name. You didn't speak to anyone at the FBI, which means you're most likely the Donif yourself.
Hold on. Let's not get insulting.
Okay.
Anyway, we're gonna.
Listen, it's a free country. Go ahead. Go ahead.
The FBI to Zev Brenner right now. Forward the email with the FBI between the communication with you and the FBI. Forward that email to Zev Brenner right now.
Let me ask you a question. Were you signed up to be at our program?
I was not, no.
Have a nice day. Mr. Brenner, can we go to the next customer, please?
You made your point, and we're gonna.
You could spend Pesach in a jail cell.
Hold on. Once you get abusive, we hang up on you. Okay, let's go.
Next.
Zev, you're gonna.
Okay, no, we have a lot of people calling, so
He's got no name. He's a gunner.
Okay.
Case closed.
Okay.
He didn't call the FBI because he's the gunner.
All right. Basically, we have calls coming from all different places, but okay. So let me do this. Let's take some phone calls over here. Let's go to Stan in Brooklyn. Stan in Brooklyn, your question or comment. Go ahead, Stan in Brooklyn.
It's in another room.
Yeah, your question for Heshy. Go ahead. Yep.
All right. Here's the point that how many other people knew that you were making, and your organization, forget Claridge, how many people knew you were making the money transfer?
How many people knew about the transfer? It was my accountant, just my accountant, and I obviously CC'd me in the email, which I was informed about.
Right. Now let me ask you this question. Okay, your accountant. Now you made an initial transfer that went through, correct?
Correct.
Correct. Okay. Then you did it again, and it went well. Okay, correct?
Okay.
All right. Then the third time, someone says to you, you got to change the account and so forth, correct? And someone says, who was the one that told you to change the account?
Who the one who sent it email to us?
Told you to change the account? Was it Claridge or was it someone in your organization?
No, come on, it was the Claridge. The
I'm
Claridge
asking you a
Hotel.
question. Someone said, who was the one that told you to change the account?
The Claridge Hotel, again, maybe okay, obviously you're still at a stage where you're not informed properly. So let me just repeat again how this the scheme works. When you have a conversation with the vendor, whatever it is, let's say you have an Amazon business, you're selling a product on Amazon and you're buying product from China, okay? There are people who have access to your email without you knowing. They know exactly what your conversation
I can't hear. I don't know what his
Okay,
answer
go
was.
ahead. He's responding to you. Go ahead.
Okay, go ahead.
I'm explaining the scheme of the nature of this type of, it's called phishing. So you have a conversation with the guy.
Sir, I know what it is. The question is, someone said to you, or someone said to your organization, you got to make the change to this
Yes,
other account.
an email came in from the Claridge in the middle of a conversation
From
that we
Claridge.
were
From
having.
Claridge.
Yes. In the middle of a conversation we were having about different things preparing for Pesach. You know, when you do a Pesach program, besides for the money transfers, there's about 12 different departments there that need to be engaged in the Pesach program.
I understand that. Here's the question.
Quick, we have a lot of
knew
people waiting, yeah.
Quick question. Here's the point. Your people, I'm not guessing, somebody knew in your organization that this email came in and so forth. How do you not know that it might have been somebody in your organization working with these people on it? I'm not saying they don't, but how do you know? You don't know.
So what you're alleging is exactly what Mr. Brenner said to me earlier. Do I think it's an inside job? Maybe someone in the Claridge did it. Maybe someone in our organization did it. So here is the answer. We don't know.
Yeah.
My organization consists of me, my bookkeeper. We're a small group, but we have large events, okay? There are no 55 people that have access to my computer. There's a sales lady who has nothing to do with our bookkeeping. She doesn't know anything other than selling. And then once the reservation comes in, she hands it over to me and to my bookkeeper. We have 3 people working, and there's no way we were hacked. Because guess what?
I understand, but here's the point. Claridge wants the business. They wanted it all the way. You said they were there. So it has to be with all respect, it has to be someone in your organization working with someone to send the email and so on. It can't be Claridge. I don't think it's Claridge. Even, I understand because they're a gambling situation, but it's got to be more on your side. I'm not blaming you.
Anyway, thank you for that. We have
I hear you where you're coming from, but it's totally not possible the way I see it. But then again,
it's possible. It's possible.
It's possible.
All
Anybody can be from your organization or from the hotel. Baltimore. I'm sorry, you're on the air from Baltimore, Maryland. Your question for our guests. Go ahead.
My question, hello.
Yes.
Is the hotel still available if we come up with the funds for the hotel?
I'm sorry, you're asking if I were to find a hotel or that?
No,
I'm not understanding your question.
if you had funds were available, if somebody gave you funds, can you still get the Claridge Hotel for Pesach? That's the question.
Oh, I right away offered it to them as when the exchange of your fault, my fault, and what's happening and then we discovered that it was a phishing email that actually came from the Claridge that wasn't really the Claridge because the guy who sent the email changed the domain to Claridge. They were not interested. They said to us, and I guess you were not here at the beginning of the conversation. They said to us, number one, you're never going to be able to come up with the kind of money that you just lost. I didn't believe I can come up with it. As much as I was convincing I didn't care. Second of all, Wednesday was already gone, which was the day we were set to kosher. I said, how are you guys going to kosher on Thursday and still start cooking on Friday? It's not going to happen because it takes another 24 hours after cleaning before koshering. And thirdly, they already opened the hotel to the public and they already signed contract without us knowing, which may be a problem on its own, at least from a legality, but they would obviously we would have to be able to prove to them that they signed a contract with someone on Tuesday for a spring break, which they mentioned to us over and over and over again. We have someone that's interested in our hotel during spring break. So let's assume they got from someone, I don't know, $100,000, whatever it is. They were no longer interested and they were not going to cancel that contract and deal with them because they figured with us, we breached the contract. They didn't get the money on time. The fact that it went elsewhere, it's not their problem. You see, they looked at it from a very, not really long term, because the problems that they may have going to happen from this, plus the future business, and thirdly, they definitely didn't make from the spring break what we were going to give them on top of,
But
I mean,
that's why it
based
doesn't
on,
make, so then it doesn't make any sense. If they're not gonna make as
It
much,
does.
you're willing to give them, so why do they want to do business with you? I don't understand. That doesn't make any sense.
it does not. It does not, totally does not make any sense. But then again, if you know the Claridge, they are allowed themselves to have reviews on their website, I mean, on Google, and you can look it up. The
So if
most
that's the case,
horrific
why'd you book,
reviews.
if you didn't like the reviews, why'd you book the hotel in the first place if you know there could be potentially problems?
Well, I don't normally believe reviews. I know that people try to dispute a hotel stay and say to themselves, okay, we can just say we saw a cockroach, we saw a bed bug. So therefore, I didn't really think of much of it. But as the customers were making us aware of the reviews, I said to myself, really, they're that bad? And I went through them and carefully, and I said to myself, either they you know, they neglected the hotel during COVID, like everyone else, didn't have people working for them, or this is just a problematic
Actually,
hotel.
we're gonna have to we have to take a break.
So have all the supplies been purchased?
Right, have you bought all the foods? Have they all been paid for?
They've been given deposits, and they were supposed to get the final payment on delivery, which was due on Thursday or Friday.
So you canceled the delivery?
We canceled that, yeah. Of
Okay.
course, they're selling it now for half price. If anyone is interested, I saw it in the status.
You're selling it for half price?
No. The vendors.
Other vendors. All right, thank you for a good phone call from Baltimore, Maryland. We're going to take a short commercial break. Continue a conversation with Heshy. Heshy Goldstein is the proprietor of a program in Atlantic City that was supposed to take place, but he's alleging fraud and why he's not doing the program. We're going to be right back.
You're listening to Talkline with Zev Brenner, America's premier Jewish broadcast, on the air since 1981.
And now, here's your host.
And before I get back to Heshy, we have a quick news report, and I mean very brief report from Israel with Dov Shurin. Good morning to you, Dov.
It's like you're so far away.
Good morning to you, Dov, in Israel.
Hi. Okay. I want to wish from Quality Carpet, the king of carpeting, to all of the listeners to have a great Pesach. And remember, right after Pesach, the summer season starts, and Quality Carpet does service the Catskill Mountains, the tri-state area. So to go to the king at their new location at 1416.
Heshy Goldstein is our guest, the proprietor of Aryeh Tours, and they were supposed to run a program at the Claridge Hotel in Atlantic City, and they canceled. They're claiming charges of fraud, and we're getting to a lot of your phone calls. Here's an email question. Why didn't Heshy insure his program? This is not the first fraud ever to happen. He's telling people to take out fraud insurance. Why didn't he do the same?
Guilty as charged. Practice what you preach. I'm with you that you can't, I don't know how right you are, because rather you don't know how right you are, because I did make a point to our accountant. I said, we got to do it. And as we get caught up in the program and we say we're going to do it, and it gets forgotten, and it just wasn't done. But it should have been done right away, and I do regret it.
Okay, we have a bunch of calls. You're on the air. Go ahead. Your first name, where are you calling from? Yes, you're on the air.
Joe from Sheepshead Bay.
Go ahead, Joseph. What's your question for Heshy?
Question is, I think you're very naive. That's what I think. You've been around a long time, Zev. Do you remember the Tamarack Lodge?
Sure.
You remember all those things already? Don't be so naive, Ray. Don't be so naive. There's 2,000 people every day here. Well, every day. So the main thing is, listen to me. The main thing is that give back the money to the old people. The old people are suffering. Give them back the money. Give them back.
Absolutely.
So you're planning on giving back the money?
As Hashem.
Okay. Let's. Yes. Go ahead. You're on the air. Are you there?
Actually, I'm here. Do you hear me?
Yes. Tell us your first name. Where are you calling from?
Yitz from Brooklyn.
Go ahead, Yitz.
So we were supposed to be there for Pesach, and Heshy mentioned during this show that he offered Claridge to pay them once even after. With any question about returning the money to the guests who have paid.
And
why talk about any other kind of credits or others?
other programs, government lockdowns, none of that's relevant. Return the money that
I think he
should
wants
have.
Can hear.
doesn't want a credit for future. You want your money back now. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
That's what
That's
he's
it.
asking.
Yeah.
He wants his money back.
Okay, and I definitely will do that after Pesach. Bez Hashem, I sent an email about it, so just refer to the email that I sent out.
Okay. Okay, thank you for your phone call. Let's move on to the next calls, and please be to the point and be succinct, because we have a lot of people calling in. Okay, you're on the air. Where are you calling from? Yes, you're on the air. I believe it's Lakewood, New Jersey. Go ahead, you're on the air. If you're not there, we're going to move on to the next caller. Okay, are you there?
Yes, I'm there. Thank
Good. Tell us your first name, where you're calling from.
you. Fine from Lakewood, New Jersey.
Go ahead, Chaim.
So, first of all, I want to make it clear to everybody, I know Heshy for a while, a couple of years now. And there are a lot of questions that people have that haven't been answered. They, list a lot of excuses and nothing really shown to us that there was actually a scam that happened here. No emails to the banks, the PC, asking to trace the money, and no emails to the FBI, like someone had previously mentioned. And just to start off, Heshy's had some serious financial issues in the past, and it's my opinion that no one should spend any time or money trying to get their money back, because it won't happen. There is no money there to pay anybody back. So on behalf of, for the sake of control, no one should spend time on litigation or anything like that to try to recoup their funds.
Well, so let Heshy
But
respond to you. Hold on. Let Heshy respond to you, okay? Heshy, what do you say to our caller?
So remember I mentioned to you earlier, there are guys in shul that you wouldn't waste 2 minutes talking to them. They're usually not very bright or have nothing to offer to society but lashon hara and being busy with other problems. This individual, I don't know who it is, but it seems to me from what he's saying that he's nothing more than the same of the people who are not to be mentioned and not to be talked to or waste any time talking to. Just because he said he knows me for a couple of years. I don't know who he is, and I don't want to know who he is. This matter, what happened now, I don't have to prove to anyone that emails about the FBI. If someone has a problem because he was supposed to come to the program and he needs to get paid, he knows how to refer to the email. Anyone else should please be busy with their own problems, which I believe this individual has many of them. Can we please move on to the next caller?
Yeah,
I will hang up if you keep on with people who are really nothing to do with their life.
Heshy, we're being fair to you, but if people calling in,
that's not being fair. This is a guy who just made a statement about me without knowing what, when, where, how.
Person is
right or wrong.
Yeah, but I have no idea who the person is. So
okay, it doesn't matter. He's not a customer. He's not a customer. Okay, he's a low life who is busy with other people's problems all day, all night, and then unfortunately, a lot of unhealthy individuals in our community. Look at the chats. The chats are full of it. And if I had a dispute with someone, guess what? This guy is cashing in. Ooh, Heshy's having a downfall. Let me add to it and say that he is this, he's that. In reality, I always tell people, if I have a dispute with you, right, and you have a Beis Din stating that you are right and I am wrong, and you want to go and publicize and say I didn't follow the Beis Din, by all means, no one has ever done that in my life. I am in the public's eye, and I will continue to be
for years and years, and that's why I want to give you the opportunity, which I think we're doing right now. But don't get angry with me if people are.
Oh no! There are people who have legitimate questions. Please
legitimate.
On to the next. That's right. What he's saying is not legitimate to me. Next, he's making accusations and giving facts that don't have any basis. Next,
Maishi in Brooklyn, your question, your turn. Go ahead.
Has he reached out to any of the authorities in New Jersey, the Attorney General or somebody?
You're asking who I reached out to?
He wants to have you reached out to the Attorney General or any other law enforcement aside from the FBI?
Yes, we did reach out to quite a few different law enforcement. Remember, as this happened, we received numerous phone calls and leads from people who were scammed just like us. And some of them might be people that they're just too embarrassed to come out in public, but they did share with us the information that how they were able to recuperate some or sometimes all of their money by just going to the right people. And we were very fortunate to get those people calling us and giving us those leads, and we thank them for it.
Thank you for your phone call. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Here's an email coming in. I guess Israel is writing, why is Heshy threatening to hang up? Why is he unable to answer hard questions transparently?
This was not a threat. This was just facing a reality. If the caller is coming to tell the audience here, Heshy has known Heshy for many years, and they're not going to get back their money, and he had serious financial trouble, that's not the type of phone call I'm here to answer. I'm here to answer people to understand what happened, to be aware of making sure that this doesn't happen to you, and to thank those who got involved voluntarily and offered me the support so much needed. Other than that, I have no business being on the show. I'm not looking for attention. I'm not looking for publicity. I'm usually a shy person by nature, and I try to keep it that way.
Let's go to Gary. Thank you for waiting. Your question or comment for our guests. Go ahead, Gary.
Am I on?
Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead. Your question.
Oh, hi. First of all, good boss, Zev, and I know a lot of times that people host radio shows and media, and you're somebody who takes sensitive topics and really portrays great light on it. So I thank you for this opportunity of having Heshy on. I don't really have a question for Heshy, nor do I want to come in and accuse anybody of anything. But what I would say is that I would like people who want to know more information to try to seek out previous either vendors or guests of Heshy's program to get an understanding of what they may want to answer questions. Granted, of course, Heshy Air can give many answers and clarity to the situation. But if you can, Heshy also mentioned that, he's got his loyal customers that people can follow up with. I encourage anybody who wants the truth to seek out somebody who's either been to the program, invested in Heshy's program, or has been a vendor of one of them. I was actually a guest at one of Heshy's programs myself.
Okay.
For
your comment.
And may I ask, what was your experience like?
Gary, what was your experience on the program? I guess he hung up.
We lost him. Okay. It's a shame.
Okay,
See, I could have gotten a free advertisement here from you. Go ahead.
If you've been on Heshy's program, you can call us. We're happy to take your phone call as well. Here's Sylvia's writing. Let's not be naive. Claridge Hotel has been in business for a long time. How does it make sense they move away from a contract knowing how they can be sued big time just for doing so?
So you're asking why the Claridge would move away from a contract, and why they're not worried about being sued?
Correct. That's what the listeners write.
Yeah, but think about it that way. Again, I hate to use the term not thinking with all your marbles, but if you're working in a hotel and there's a breach of contract, why? Because in the contract it states Wednesday 9 o'clock it should be paid up. Monday and Tuesday we sent payment, but they didn't receive it. Now they're assuming we're making fun of them. So Wednesday, when we walked in, they already opened the hotel and sold the hotel to other people. So now they have to ask themselves, if they were to go and take Heshy back because something happened, they have to go and cancel out the other customers who are maybe regular customers. So now they think Heshy has a breach of contract. Yeah, he has a very good excuse. He proved it to us, but we don't owe. It doesn't say anywhere in the contract that if he sent the money to the wrong people, we should continue with him. So I don't think they're looking at a lawsuit. They're looking at being more, losing out future business, which is what they are probably not going to be getting anymore. Not from me and not from any Pesach program. Believe it or not, I did receive a phone call from someone who did a Pesach program 6 years ago, the only other Pesach program, and he said we had similar problems. So this is a problematic hotel that may have been around long.
Actually, when the program said he had similar problems 6 years ago, that somebody scammed him with the wrong wire information. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know. I didn't discuss it with him. I just got a phone call from someone in the business. I don't want to say names. Obviously, I didn't ask him for permission, telling me that the guy who did a program with me, the guy that did a program prior to me had been scammed some way. He had different issues, and I did hear something about the elevators not working, the rooms were operating. There was a lot of problems, and obviously we when we went there, we knew about these problems, but it was the new management who reassured us that there was not going to be any problems that the previous experience had experienced.
Okay, let's go. Gary is back. He said you asked him a question about his experience. You want to tell about your experience at one of Heshy's programs. Is that correct?
Only if it's constructive criticism.
Thanks for having me back on. I appreciate it. So I'll get this connected. I was at the program in 2021 in New Jersey. That was the one that he had it was needless. Many of the guests were quote unquote credits from COVID. Investors that had invested in the program were also credits, and he had got other investments from another fellow in Staten Island. I'm not going to mention his name, who had linked him into an investor.
So wait a second. Can I ask a question? So I just want to prove a point here.
Language he used at that program for the excuses. So, for example, he had mentioned like.
One second. I'm asking for 1 second.
Let him speak. I'll let you respond. Go ahead, Gary. You make your thought. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of things that were advertised weren't advertised as such, and a lot of the same, excuses, so to speak, that Heshy brings up. There was a lot of domestic issues there as well in terms of, a text was sent out that like anybody who wants a free program should show up, and and that was an excuse used for as the lack of food and the experience. And that's why I say don't take my word for it. Find a person who's at one of his programs and ask them. And it's hard to find a complainer because in a typical Pesach program, there may be 300 guests, but only 20 credit cards get swiped because it's usually the patriarch of the family is the one who's taking their family out. So most people are a unpaid guest at the hotel and the program. When you have one person and there, if a grandfather paid for their grandchild, the child's not going to complain and look with it because they're not the one who paid. There's a few people there that are financially
not happy.
They're complaining.
Okay, let me. If people are not happy, they're complaining. Or people not hesitant, they're not shy. But I'm going to let Heshy respond to you.
So first of all, thank you for your call. And you're talking about the first Pesach program right after COVID, and I believe there was no other program that year because it was right after COVID, and people weren't sure the rules of the mask and the 6 feet apart, having a minimum of maximum rather of 300 people were still coming and going. People weren't sure. Yes, I wasn't interested in doing that program, but I did get an investor who said to me, "Oh, don't worry, it's on me." Meantime, the guy was a total fraud and a scam. And believe you me, everyone at the program came over to me and said, "Heshy, you didn't know that this guy was arrested for forging checks. Why did you go into business with him?" So I explained the nature. I said I was not looking to do a Pesach program when there was still semi-COVID restrictions, but he came up with the money. He said, "Well, I want to give you here $5 because the only money you're going to be left with after the program." But it's happened and it's passed. And you know what? I don't have to go into details. What this guy did, he did send out a text message. He was trying to get money from people. So he sent out this text message. Anyone that doesn't have a program should come. Whatever money they gave him, it was his way of raising funds because he was an addict for whatever. But that's not what I want to discuss here. I'm happy that you called for a simple reason. You made a statement before that everyone that was due credit from the COVID cancellation was able to come to that program because for a fact there were a lot of credits. I'm saying that because there was an earlier caller who was not very intelligent and has a lot of emotional issues, said that started making accusations and statement that they will never see their money back, and I've had other problems. I appreciate you calling and attesting to the fact that there were plenty of people that were given credits, and I thank you for that alone. And if you didn't have a good experience, my apologies. I wish you would have come the following year, which was last year, which pretty much bombed the place. And we just have gotten so many reviews and so many people who were looking to sign up right after Pesach for the following year, which is why we were able to fill up this year so quickly. But I'm sorry that you came to that program, and if it wasn't 100% to your satisfaction, I hope you can still find plenty in that program that worked for you.
Anyway, Gary, thank you for your phone call. We're almost out of time, but thank you, Gary. Good point, good questions. Thank you, Gary.
Can I respond real quick?
30 seconds, yes.
Sure. Heshy refers to his program that he experienced last year, that he put on last year, was there's a lot there that he will refer to that program because that was kind of a success. But I asked him how many of his vendors of that program actually got paid by Heshy last year. So granted, to the public, it looks great, but there was a lot that went on behind that scene that a lot of people don't know about.
So the answer to it, yes, we paid all our vendors before Pesach. Baruch Hashem, we were clean and we had no issues. During Pesach, there were orders that were placed by some of our employees, not known to me or to all the staff members, and not because we needed it so badly. It's because there was a lack of, let's just explain to you a little bit from a technical point. When a hotel is not designed for a Pesach program, things will happen. And that's exactly what happened there. While it's a gorgeous hotel, the kitchen was very small, the service elevator was broken, and everything was scattered in different trailers. And when they couldn't locate something, they went and they ordered during Pesach emergency orders, when in reality it wasn't needed. Came after Pesach, they all wanted to get paid. I had to ask them to please hold off a little bit until we get back to on our feet from this particular incident. And it wasn't something that I ordered in a way that's saying, hey, I'm going to scam you, I'm not going to pay you. They all eventually were dealt with and are still being dealt with. It happens when a company falls into some kind of a financial burden of unexpected expense. If you're a business owner, I'm sure you're aware of that. It doesn't make us a company that doesn't pay vendors.
What you're saying, Heshy, you're still in the process of paying some of the vendors from last Pesach.
There may be one or two vendors we worked out a deal. There weren't too many. There were 2 or 3 that we had placed orders during Pesach that were not needed, and we worked out a deal. Or we are, still working out. We give them more business, and while we give them more business, we pay a little bit from that order. But if you ask each and everyone, every order that was placed before Pesach was paid up, and it was part of the budget. But like I said, if you're a business owner and you have unforeseen, expenses, unexpected rather, you deal with it, right? Like a big boy. For people to go out.
Gary made some very good points. Thank you. We appreciate your calling back. So thank you.
But remember, I want you to know.
Reach out to somebody who they know went there and to hear what happened, because accusing Heshy or blasting him about something isn't going to get anywhere. But you should try to seek somebody out that may have had an experience.
All right, thank you for your phone call. We're out of time. Just want to.
I'm not Teresa. But if we're out of time, I just want to say,
how many victims are there? If it doesn't sound like the program was feasible due to low enrollment, why didn't he keep his victims updated over the slow process he was making? How does he plan on getting the funds to pay everyone back?
I'm sorry, I'm not understanding the question.
He goes, how many victims are there? It doesn't sound like the program was feasible as a rights due to low enrollment. And he wants to know is how will you plan on paying people back?
So when, again, people are making statements without knowing, we were sold out to a profitable margins where it was worthwhile doing the program. So I'm not quite sure when someone calls with accusations, with statements that has no backing, like the guy who had called earlier about saying he knows me for many years and then no one is going to get back their money. I was so glad that the previous caller actually called back and proved to everyone on air that a lot of people that paid for COVID that didn't come to the Pesach program were able to come to the following year. So again, I don't have to answer to people who are just nasty or unhealthy individuals, as I call them. People are busy with other people's problems because they have a lot of their own. As I said earlier, the social media and the WhatsApp groups were very busy with me, and for good or for bad, obviously the unhealthy people that you wouldn't talk to if you meet them in the street have an opportunity to say something and become important all of a sudden. And this is the new era. So which is why I've decided on Friday afternoon, I am not responding or showing any more proof to anyone unless you are were part of our program. And at that point, if you didn't buy insurance as we advised you to, which is unfortunately to some, not that many, believe you me, a lot of people had to say, oh, it was $250 to buy insurance. I will make sure that they get back their money right after Pesach when the dust settles. But right now, we're still hoping to get back.
You can't get back the money, but you're saying you can't get back the money until you get back the money. So
I didn't say anything. Zev, don't put words in my mouth. I didn't say anything like it. I'm just explaining to you the nature of it. Right now, we're going into Pesach. We all need to find settle ourselves and hopefully have a nice Pesach. And at the same time, there is investigation going on. I don't think it's so important for everyone to know how and when and where at this point, if it's today, unless you're a customer. And the customer got an email they can refer to, and they seem to be very responsive and write to me, okay, Heshy, let's be in touch right after Pesach. So all these haters and people who have nothing to do with their life.
Is after Pesach, you plan on reimbursing?
Again, Zev, if a customer has a dispute with me, for example, right, which apparently happens, social media is not the answer to go and say, okay, let me get even with Heshy because I have a dispute with him and I didn't win. Right now, I'm offering to give back everyone. I'm just telling my customers what they need to hear and know, and no one so far has demonstrated or said to me, Heshy, I am not okay with it. So I don't need to discuss with other people who have nothing to do with their life.
People want to know, so you're planning on doing it. So that's what we're trying to ascertain. We have one moment left. Here's an email question: can you tell us the vendors that are selling the goods at half price?
Someone actually sent me a message about it. It's very interesting. If the guy is selling matzah or a special Pesach ingredient, he's selling it at half price, because I saw in the status that he was saying available for half price. If the guy is selling wine or meat, which can be sold after Pesach for the same price, he ain't giving it for the half price. So maybe I wasn't clear about that, and I apologize.
Anyway, we're out of time, so I thank you. Listen, we hope that people are made whole. We hope that this thing gets clarified and gets taken care of.
Well, most importantly, and this is what I always tell people, the message here is, if you know someone starting a business who is clueless about the world, inform them about the scheme, how they will get an email about a wire transfer. Do not send a wire. I don't care how sure you are it's coming from the vendor. Call them and verify. Take the extra step. I've spoken to very large companies who actually have in every email signature a reminder: do not send out a wire. Regardless of what people are going to say about me, I can't control that, and I'm really not interested in that either. But if something was learned from it, I'm happy to be the good source of information.
I'm hoping that, that if it's indeed was a fraud, that whoever did it gets apprehended, the money gets released. We want to see people who were made whole. What were you say, about a couple hundred people were involved in the Pesach program? What number?
The Pesach program was over 500, even more so. But the people who got affected are not that many, as I mentioned to you. If those who bought insurance just need a letter from me saying that the program was canceled and the travel's insurance will pay them. I have it. I think it's Travel Defend. Please, I'm asking people, you're going to Israel, you're going to Florida, it's a few $100s, and your flight and your hotel and your everything is refunded to the full, even if you just had the flu and you couldn't go. So it's just something, I'm almost like giving them a free advertisement to this company. I should probably ask them for commission, but it's in your best interest.
Good, and hope if you run a program, and you're going to also take out this insurance.
I think by now I learned my lesson. You know what they say: fool me once, you know the end of it, right? So, okay.
Heshy Goldstein, the proprietor of Aryeh Hospitality. We appreciate. I know it wasn't easy to answer some questions, and I hope people get a perspective of what's going on. And again, you've heard from some of the people. Some of the people have questions about what happened, what's going to happen for the future. We hope you'll join us again and keep us apprised of what's going on.
Yes, Zev Brenner. Looking forward, Mr. Sam, to many more programs, and everything should work out. And most importantly, the next program should be in Yerushalayim. Good night and good luck to everyone.
And we also thank, by the way, Doni Schwartz and Passover Listings for helping putting together this broadcast.